In this video, we're going to create some Excel formulas and functions using absolutes. Now, what is an absolute? And what does an absolute do? An absolute locks in a cell value. It means that the cell value will not change. So once again, an absolute, when it's applied to a cell, it locks in that cell value. Can't change. Well, how do you get an absolute? The easiest way to get an absolute and apply it to a cell value is to tap F4, function key F4. After doing that, what we're going to see is that we've locked in that cell value, and we know we've done that because you're going to have the cell value surrounded by dollar signs. That means that a cell has been locked in. It is an absolute. To give an example, I'm up in cell M1. There's nothing in here right now. And I'm going to create a very basic formula. Equal sign. And then I'm going to tap K1. So we're looking up here. Equal K1 is up here. In order to make that formula or cell an absolute, all I got to do is tap F4. And what's happened now is that now I have a dollar sign before K and a dollar sign before row 1. It means that that cell has been made into an absolute. It is locked in. So the easiest way to make an absolute is to click on the cell, tap F4. Now, let's apply this to our example. I'm going to come down to cell G2. And what I'm going to do is we have the number of sales for each day already calculated. In all cases, it's 400. But the total sales, in terms of dollars, is determined by taking the 400 multiplied by the current price, which we're going to say is $4. Now the key here is that as we go down here, it's going to be 400 times 4, 400 times 4. The value that is always locked in, the value that's an absolute, is the K1. If we didn't make it an absolute, when we copy down our formula, we would have the incorrect information. But the constant, the absolute, is always in K1. So, quite simply, it's a simple formula still, equal the 400 multiplied by the current price, F2 times K1. I click my cursor over here, F4. I'm going to tap F4. And by doing that, my formula is now showing F2 times $K, $1. I've made that K1 an absolute. Check mark. Copy it all the way down. We'll format it into dollars or currency. Decrease the decimals twice. And now to quickly double check our formula. I'm in this cell here. If I quickly double left click, I can see 400 multiplied by K1. It's always looking up here. We made K1 an absolute, so we're always grabbing the current price, which is in K1. It's not going to be moving around. It should be locked in. It should be an absolute. Next, we're going to use an if function. And in that if function, we're going to be using an absolute. So we're going to come up to the cell H2. And basically how that if function is going to work is basically we're going to write it in as if our total sales, in this case 1,600 for the date 1/1, if that amount is greater than the 2,200, if it's greater than or equal to the 2,200, then our sales goal has been met. Yes, so that's our second line. Otherwise, no. Once again, now the trick here, I mean, that's quite easy. So it's going to be this amount. The next one is greater than or equal to 2,200. If it is, we've met our sale goals. So it will be yes, otherwise no. Now the trick is that we're always going to be looking up in cell K2 for our sales goal. So our sales goal, what we're looking at, is always going to be up in cell K2. It needs to be locked in for our formula. It needs to be made into an absolute. So that's what the trick is on this one, is that our sales goal is always going to be in K2. It needs to be made into an absolute. So we're going to come down to H1. We're going to use our if function. Our condition, if this amount, G2, is greater than or equal to this amount. Now here's the trick, okay? We're always going to be looking up at K2, so we need to lock that K2 value in. We need to make K2 an absolute. So our cursor is here, F4. We've locked it in. If that's true, our sales goal has been met, so it's just a yes. Otherwise, no. Hit OK. In this case, you can actually see 1,600 less. We're going to copy down that if. We're going to double check this one here by quickly double F clicking. And we can see that if this amount, G6, is greater than or equal to the locked in value, it's an absolute, K2, then it's yes, otherwise no. Still, another way of doing it, the way that I recommend, we have a function. We know we have a function. Click Fx. And it's much easier to see what's happened for that if function. It's an if function. Here's our condition. G6 is greater than or equal to K2. It's locked in. If that's the case, yes. Otherwise, no. Thank you.